All right, Jim Bacon from baconsrebellion.com, also one of the folks with the Jefferson Council trying to save UVA from itself and some of the bad DEI, CRT, crazy leftist policies that seem to have become a part of that school, is with us this morning. I took note of 2 stories you wrote over the holiday. You were busy writing on baconsrebellion.com about DEI and how it seems to be creating more hostility instead of removing it in society. It's not making things better, if that was the real intention. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, John. Yes, you're referring to a study that was recently announced by Rutgers University and their research partners that conducted a randomized double-blind study comparing the attitudes of some 400-plus Rutgers students after exposing them to the anti-racism thinking of Ibram X. Kendi and Robin DiAngelo.
Yeah. And
they compared a group that was exposed to that thinking to a group that was exposed to a different text on just a kind of a totally neutral topic like corn production or something. But anyway, what they found was then they asked some questions about some other things after being exposed to the anti-racist thinking, and the people who were exposed to anti-racist thinking showed what the authors call a hostile attribution bias. That is, reading racial motivations that simply did not exist into the scenario, interpreting what the people were thinking and doing. So, in a less social scientific way of putting it is the DEI training of anti-racism training kind of feeds a sense of grievance and victimhood and the sense that people are guilty of racial bias when in fact they aren't. So that's an academic study. As the authors observed, DEI is an $8 billion DEI training is an $8 billion industry, and no one before them has really conducted any social scientific research onto the effects of it.
Did you say $8 billion?
Yeah.
With a B?
When you figure all the money that corporations spend, not just universities, but corporations and government, it's a massive.
I'm in the wrong business, man.
Yeah, I think you are, John.
If I could do 4 hours of radio 5 days a week, but if I go to a 1 hour seminar on, hating homos, maybe that's what I should go to. I could make a bank, I guess. It's crazy. I don't know that would solve the problem, though. This is the issue, Jim. When I talk to people about this, and I'm so hostile about DEI, but then they say, well, John, are you just trying to ignore reality? Are you trying to ignore that there are racist people? There are people who hate you because of your sexuality? And I said, no. I mean, look, if I go to downtown Richmond, I can walk into some places where they're going to go, who is this old white man? And they will not be nice to me. I mean, I hope I won't get hurt, but they will not be nice to me because of my skin color. I mean, that's just the truth. There are people who are racist, and they come in a lot of different forms. But there's an obsession here that does seem to make especially younger people hypersensitive to blaming their problems or their disagreements that may just be personality-driven on those characteristics.
Yeah, absolutely. And with all this DEI training, well, first of all, let me just say, there's many different kinds of DEI training. They aren't all anti-racist training that draws upon Ibram Kendi and Robin DiAngelo, who are the most kind of fervent of the DEI trainers. But that is a dominant theme. So let's make it clear. That's not universal. Not every DEI person subscribes to that. But it heightens awareness of race, makes race the foremost identity in everybody's minds, and it makes it impossible to kind of dissociate yourself from it. And if there's ever any kind of hope of having a colorblind society in which, sure, you're always going to notice whether someone what their color is, but it's like you don't attach any significance to it.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's your ideal, then DEI training absolutely is the absolute antithesis and reverse of it.
Well, the other story that I noticed that you wrote about, and this gives us an opportunity to talk about something good, is this one university professor at UVA who is finding some common ground between people. That I thought that's where we were going to try to go as a society. This guy's actually doing it?
Yeah. The psychology professor named Joe Allen has put together this program called Who's Connected.
Mm-hmm.
That's HOOS, Wahoo, play on that.
Very clever.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what he does, he's bring together first and second year students, and I guess they actually get a college credit for doing this. And they meet every week. And they have a student facilitator to kind of guide the conversation, so it's not just aimless. And what they do is they talk about themselves and their backgrounds and their experiences, and they share, and they get to know each other. And the purpose is not to dwell on differences, but to find out, to explore what they have in common. So you have all these students coming from all these diverse backgrounds coming to UVA, and it's like, hey, well, maybe it's like, oh, wow, I really love Game of Thrones too, or like I like flying kites, or whatever it is. The millions of things that people can share that they have in common. It's like that's what they kind of focus on and what they dwell on. Mm-hmm. And what he does, unlike the people who do this DEI training, is he actually measures the results. And what he's found is that a lot of students that come to UVA, there's a whole sense of loneliness. A lot of them are lonely. They have trouble making connections and making friends. They don't feel a sense of belonging. He says the kids who go through his program have a much greater sense of belonging. Well, this whole DEI business is all about creating belonging for particularly for marginalized students. Mm-hmm. No one has ever conducted a study at UVA to see if any of this rhetoric or any of these programs work. But Joe Allen, he's a social scientist. He has conducted the studies, and he knows that's looking for common ground and common interests. That does work. Mm-hmm. That does make people feel like they belong. So it is a program at UVA, which I criticize UVA a lot, but they have encouraged this, and the program has grown. Yeah, and it has it's like 1,000 students a year participate in it. So I think that could be a model for a lot of other schools. In fact, they've instituted it at Virginia Tech and Georgetown University. So it's spreading, and hopefully, as the Trump administration has come down pretty hard on DEI, and so we're going to go, well, what's the alternative? And maybe something like Who's Connected is the alternative.
Yeah. Well, I put this on Facebook a couple of times a year that diversity is not a strength. Common values and shared goals amongst diverse people is the strength. And that's a very different way of looking at this.
Nicely put.
So,
yep.
It sounds like this professor has figured that out and is putting it into action. I hope folks will check out that article that Jim has written, along with the other interesting stories that you'll only find on baconsrebellion.com. Hey, thank you, Jim.
Thank you, John.
8:47. We're back with more in a moment on News Radio WRVA.